Welcome back to the channel, YT. We're back with another one. And you've seen the thumbnail. It's going to be my thoughts and opinions on Captain America: Brave New World. Let's get straight into it. So if you haven't seen one of these videos, I like to give my opinion straight from the jump about how I felt about the movie. Then I like to go into a little bit more detail in regards to the certain characters in the film. So first and foremost, how do I feel about this movie? I think it was pretty mid. Now, when I call it mid, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The movie wasn't great, but it definitely wasn't bad. It's pretty your run-of-the-mill action, political thriller, espionage film. Like, it was a solid movie. It was solid. And I think this was just Marvel making it to first base. I think a lot of people are so used to the MCU coming out with a new movie and just knocking it out of the park each time. Bang, bang, bang. But lately, the MCU has been striking out. They've been striking out big time. And I think this is just Marvel's way of getting back into the swing of things. And again, this movie wasn't great, but it was solid. So I think this is just them making it to first base. And hopefully, with the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four right around the corner, hopefully they can do as good, if not better. And maybe they'll knock it out of the park. And I think if they do that, the Fantastic Four especially, if it does knock it out of the park, I think a lot of people will start to get back on board with the MCU. As much as people dislike the MCU and how it's been post Endgame, as much hate as MCU gets since, and it's rightfully deserved, don't get me wrong, they deserve all this hate that they're getting. People are in love with the MCU. True, dedicated, hardcore fans are in love with the MCU. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to show up every time to watch your movies. You got to give them something to watch, something quality to watch. But they are in love with the MCU, so they're at least willing to give it a chance. And I think if you like the MCU, you should give this film a chance. Is it great? No, but it's not terrible. I've seen some people say it's in the same, they put it in the same ilk as Madam Web and Morbius. Let me tell you something. It's not as bad as those films are. I'm sorry, I'm not to disagree with their opinion. It's not as bad. But don't let me convince you that it's not as bad. Go and watch it for yourself. This is not one of those channels, I like to call them hate channels, that only exist to spew hate. They exist to just rile the pot, stir the pot up, get you to think and believe and act and respond the way they do. And if they can convince you not to like something, they get you to like and subscribe just because you share the same ideals as they do. But I'm telling you something. Don't allow somebody to influence your opinion about something if you haven't done your own due diligence. Like, you're smarter than that. I just know it. Like, these hate channels are only there to get clicks and views and stir the pot. But you are smart enough to think for yourself. You're smart enough to think for yourself, formulate your own opinion. So don't allow somebody to convince you that you don't like something when you haven't seen it yourself. That's all I'm saying. But again, don't take my word for it. Go watch the movie. All right, so you have my opinion. I think it was pretty mid, pretty average. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially how the MCU has been lately. But let's get into some of the characters. All right, so Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. Now, let me go on record and tell you that I was one of those people who thought Bucky should have gotten the mantle of Captain America solely off the strength that it would have been really dope for his character arc and his redemption story. You know what I mean? But, it got passed to Sam Wilson. So we got to rock with it. So Sam Wilson as Captain America in this, I think he did a solid job. Anthony Mackie can act. But what I think is going to have to happen, he's going to have to be in a lot of more movies as Captain America before the masses begin to turn around and see him as Captain America. Because, like I said, people are in love with the MCU. I was in love with the MCU, and some still are. And they're used to seeing Captain America look and behave a certain way. That's just facts. So I think it's going to take them some time to come around to Sam Wilson as Captain America. But he did a decent job. One of the things I didn't like about the movie is just some of the fight scenes. I think some of the fight choreography just was subpar for our Captain America movie, to me personally. Now, I know Sam Wilson doesn't have the super soldier serum, but he has a lot of tech that could, even the odds, so to speak. But I think the fight scenes could have been better. The hand-to-hand fight scenes could have been better. But, that's just my little nitpick. But let me get into the person who really held this movie together and put this movie on his 82-year-old shoulders. And that's none other than Harrison Ford himself as Thaddeus Ross. I think he did an exceptional job. I think this movie is half of his. Half the freaking runtime was spent on him. At least it felt that way. But he came to act. He came to act. Harrison Ford did. And I think he did a great job as Thaddeus Ross and as the president. I think it was believable. He didn't phone it in. When he finally transformed into the Hulk, which we all anticipate him doing, I think it was a good payoff. It was a good lead up and build up to it. But then once we got it on screen and in person, I'm like, that's the Hulk. That's the Hulk we know from 2008. That's the Hulk that we want. Just wish he was green and called Bruce Banner. But hey, the MCU the MCU knows what we want. They know what the fans want because they gave it to us with the Red Hulk. Now just give it to us with the Incredible Hulk and make him truly incredible, bro. Like that's all we ask for. We don't want this soft ponytail like scientist Hulk. Like we want that ravenous, that ruthless, that World War Hulk. We want that version of him, and they know it. So they gave us a piece of that with the Red Hulk, and I appreciate that. They just let me know they finally listening. They listening, huh? But yeah, Thaddeus Ross, Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross. I think he did a great job. 9 out of 10, damn near 10 out of 10 for his performance. I really appreciate the Danny Ramirez as Torres, as Falcon. A lot of people were annoyed by that character, but I think his character was written in such a way to be annoying or try to be the comedic relief. But Sam Wilson, or Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, is charismatic enough to do that on his own. But Torres, the character of Falcon, I think maybe they could have done it in a different way. I mean, it didn't bother me. I just thought he was a typical, typical guy. You know what I mean? Joking around, being annoying. He know he's obnoxious, but he don't care anyway. Like that type of character. Like I didn't see an issue with it. I think he had a solid role in the film. So I'm not gonna say anything negative about it. It's not really a bother to me. But what was a bother to me I forgot the actress who played her, but once I describe her, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. Is Sabra. It was the president's head of security, the little woman who was also in a black room or whatever. Like she was a former Black Widow. Bro, she was not believable at all when it comes to the fighting scenes. I was like, ain't no way this little woman, this small woman, is doing some of these moves and pulling off some of these moves. Like, no way. Like, you can't convince me. I'm sorry. You can't convince me. She's like 4'11", 90 pounds, but she's throwing and hinging up or holding up grown men like 3 times her size. Like, no, I'm sorry. You can't even believe that. She didn't do a bad job acting. It's just those fight scenes just wasn't believable just because of her stature. Like, she was extremely small. So that's the only negative I got towards that. Anytime I seen her on screen fighting, I was like, I don't believe this one bit at all. Like, one bit. I don't care if she was brought up in the Red Room. I don't care if she was a former Black Widow. Ain't no way. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that character. But let's get into one of the main characters. Samuel Stern. They brought him back from the 2008 Incredible Hulk film. And that was a pleasant surprise. I think bringing him back after all these years, I think he did a good job. The moment I seen him, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Even with the makeup, the cosmetics and stuff on, I was like, yeah, that is the scientist guy. He's been around all this time, and they did a really good job at explaining where he's been, how he's been operating in the movie. Like, that was pretty cool. And the whole plot twist with the Harrison Ford, Thaddeus Young, as Thaddeus Ross. I'm sorry, I said Thaddeus Young. As Thaddeus Ross. You can tell he's not scripted. Like, I literally hit record and I just start talking to y'all. But anyways, you can the little plot twist they had where they had that President Ross had a heart condition, so he was being seen by Samuel Stern, and he was giving him these pills, and these pills were laced with gamma rays, which ultimately turned him to the Hulk. That was a really, really neat trick, a really, really plot twist. Like, I was not expecting that. I was like, okay, it makes sense. Like, the build up to that was good too. Like, I was like, okay, it actually paid off. You know what I mean? So I was pleased with it. Like, again, this movie wasn't a bad movie. It had bad parts. It had bad fight choreography, in my opinion. It had bad CGI in certain parts, but it wasn't a bad movie overall. So if you're interested in seeing it, just go see it. You know what I mean? Just go see it. Formulate your own opinion. That's just really what I want to just get across to you in this video. Like, just format your own opinion. Don't be influenced by these so-called influencers, man. You're smarter than that. But if I leave you anything, I'm gonna leave you with this. In my opinion, I think that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus show, should have been a movie first. Like, it should have been a movie in theaters for people to go see, and then came out with Captain America: Brave New World. I think the fans would have been more forgiving and understanding and more accepting of Captain America being played by Sam Wilson, or Sam Wilson as Captain America. I think that would have been a better way to go, as to make, you know, that I keep saying Netflix series, that Disney series of Falcon and Winter Soldier a movie first, and then come out with Captain America: Brave New World. I think this movie would have been well received, even more so than it is, because it is getting some backlash. But yeah, I think that would have been a route to go in. Is it a solid movie? Yes. Is it the greatest movie? Not by any stretch of the imagination. But again, if you're a fan of the MCU, if you enjoy seeing these characters on the big screen, just go and see it. And if you don't like it, then don't like it. Your opinion is valid, but at least you've seen a movie. Do not give in to these influencers. Do not let them influence your opinion, because you have your own. All right? All right, now go play some Marvel Rivals, man. That shit is good. Later.
My soul is stubborn. This soul...
That was an impressive performance.